Hi everyone, welcome to Conversations with Rofane. This is Rofane speaking, and I'm joined by NJ, the CEO of Botswana Insurance Company. We're going to be talking about more on company culture, which is something that I'm just very passionate about and really fascinated by because I've noticed that different organizations have different working cultures. Some have this very silo/hybrid format, but I'm not really sure if that works. What's your opinion on that one?
I would say that since I joined BIC in 2018, I can't deny the fact that we quite some clear silos within the business.
Yeah.
But I made it very clear that silo mentality is not one of my, favorite stuff. I encourage openness, transparent discussions around things that affect us as a team. I would like to see people collaborating and working together as a team for one purpose, which is making lives better for our stakeholders and for BIC, and in the process, us also developing ourselves. So yes, the silo mentality can be a big disease in a business if you don't get rid of it as quickly as possible. So some people had to be sacrificed because they couldn't change. They wanted to continue in their silo mentality, and they had to leave the business. But as a business, what we encourage is open communication from my office all the way down and from down all the way to my office to make sure that people share what they need to share. People believe that when they share, they're listened to. And that's very, very important for our business.
And in this age of especially hybrid working, how does one really continue the flow of a healthy work culture when, for example, you're just waiting for someone to go online on Teams and that person isn't online and maybe they're experiencing a power cut wherever they are. So how do you really harness a healthy work environment even if it's online?
You see, part of the culture, you can't talk of culture without a certain level of decorum, certain level of discipline that needs to apply across the whole business. We are very clear that when you make other people wait for you on Teams, you're actually wasting their time, productive time.
Yes.
So you're also irritating other members of the team. So in terms of discipline, how we approach our things, we are very clear how this should be done. And at BSC, I can assure you that we do not have situations where we have to wait for someone for a meeting, because that's not an acceptable behavior as far as we are concerned. What we also try to do with the lower levels is that amongst themselves, we encourage them to, sort of like nominate certain characters that they believe have behaved well in a certain space. And there are awards that are then sort of like, paid to these guys who win through like a voting process by employees. These days electronically they can vote within a few minutes. They've got winners and stuff
Yes.
like that. So so it's an interesting situation where you need to make sure that you encourage what you want to see, but also people should be very clear that if they then go the other route, what then happens to them? What are the implications? So I think culture can only be sustained that way if we are very clear of what we encourage and what we discourage. Yes.
And what strategies have you put in place to ensure some sort of employee satisfaction and progression?
Yes. Actually, we've had quite a couple of activities. The team building sessions.
Yes.
The team building sessions, people really here are very competitive. That's where you see the real competitiveness of some of the individuals in the team. We have done seminars, we've got platforms where we share some of these values and stuff. So we've also run sort of like internal competitions where we're trying to promote a certain behavior, a certain way of doing things. So people then sort of like indicate who is the winner and stuff like that, and they actually walk away with some prizes. So I think the various initiatives that we have had in terms of trying to encourage a certain culture and certain behavior is quite, in my view, I think I would say it's working quite well at the moment. Yes.
And then how do you encourage inclusivity and diversity and gender equality? Because these are often very slim and very
Correct.
sensitive issues sometimes.
Correct. I think in our business, we've got typical examples of the things that have happened that encourage gender equality, for example. My team, for example, my management team, there's good balance of men to women in terms of the promotion. I don't believe that one gender is more superior
It's all about
than the
merit.
other. It's all about merit. Legal guard business, that's 100% by BIC. I put in Lady MD there, just to demonstrate that this is not a forte of only men. She's part of my exco, but it's also the MD of Legal Guard. And these are things that, in my view, demonstrate that we are conscious about these inequalities, gender issues, race and stuff. We have a very diverse team that we make sure that at the time of recruiting, we sort of like balance these things because we take them into account at the
Yes.
point of recruitment. We had at some point some teams that were skewed to one gender and stuff, and I made it deliberate to the heads of those departments that I would like to see a balance in the teams that we have. Of course, there's always an argument that so should I let a good talent go because I'm focusing on gender balance, and I'm saying why would always that the good talent is a female and not a male, or a male and not a female, depending on what you're trying to balance. So I think there are talents on both genders, so we should just look for that talent and make sure that the teams are balanced. And as if you walk around the office, I think you realize that there is a bit of balance in terms of gender, in terms of race, in terms of all sorts of backgrounds, where people come from, etc. So I think there's a good balance in the team. Yeah.
And when we look at times of high pressure, do you think these are things that, especially the high pressure, you said that leaders are shock absorbers. So when it comes to times of high pressure, do you think that kind of dilutes the work culture, especially when those leaders who are more reactive and all of a sudden they start losing a lot of headcount among staff?
Yeah. In terms of crisis, that's why we do not want to measure people
Yeah.
during times of crisis, because that's a reaction, the heat of the moment. You do not take people and conclude about them only during a crisis. But the diversity we have, for me, I think it has actually brought the uniqueness and the richness in terms of different ideas and different experiences and how we can approach sort of like a crisis situation. So rather than working negatively, I think it has worked positively for us, because then team dynamics speak to this diversity that we
Yes.
have, and it sort of like makes us stronger because of that diversity that we have. Yes.
And when it comes to tough feedback that you may receive, at the end of the day, you did say that the buck stops with you. But when you receive some tough feedback, how do you kind of receive that, especially from a junior individual who maybe they just don't understand, or you're trying to help shape them, but you don't want to discourage them as well?
Yeah, I think I've done a lot to try and make people understand that I appreciate feedback from the exco management all the way to the lowest person. I actually value feedback more from the lower levels than my exco team. There's sometimes a group thinking when you're in the same exco and whatever. There's this bias of group
Yeah.
thinking and all, but when it comes from someone who is really in the same groups with you, it brings fresh thinking, different look at different view of things and stuff,
Absolutely.
and different perspectives. So I think in this business, just last week or the other week, I had a session with the whole staff without management, just getting feedback. I usually had sessions with management and staff, and they would take like an hour and we are done. This one was the first one where there was no management but only me and staff, and it took 5 hours.
What?
Yes, it took 5 hours to finish all the things that people wanted to say.
Wow.
That to me tells me that they feel comfortable telling me their issues, but
Yeah.
maybe not quite as comfortable to tell their direct bosses. So for fear of, so that then gave me the understanding that we need to make sure that we have created a psychologically safe environment for everyone that's in the business and not just for management. So I'll help my management team to make sure that they create those environments in their businesses. Yeah.
And at a lower level, for whether it's an emerging leader or someone who's in business, at their maybe 6 to 10 staff members, how can they at an early stage harness a healthy work culture?
I think they need to they need to also have one-on-ones with their people. It doesn't take a lot to say let's have a breakfast outside of office and chat to someone.
Yeah.
A lot of the disconnect that comes between the leader and the follower is not understanding the other person and the vice versa. So when you take time to interact with someone outside the formal work environment, it always gives you the opportunity to address some of these issues without fear of any repercussions coming your way. So I think the young leaders with the smaller teams, it's actually good for them because then they can actually easily, um, you know, sit one-on-one and deal with some of these issues. Yeah.
When you transitioned from Uganda to Botswana, what was the major differences that you realized when it came to work culture, or company culture rather?
I think the biggest I don't see a major difference in terms of output,
Yeah.
but I think the biggest difference probably could be in terms of how Ugandans are comfortable working late into the night and stuff, and how, of course, Botswana are very particular about finishing when they have to finish
Yeah.
at 5, and that's I think that's a little bit of difference that comes. But when you look at the output and the quality of work that comes out of the people, it's more or less the same. The focus, the customer centricity in our service industry, because we're a service business, is it's more or less the same. The culture was a little bit different before I started, but I can tell you now, I think the culture is more or less the same because I don't believe that the team is there because of one person. It's there because of everyone who is
Yeah.
in the team. And the results we achieve are there because of everyone in the team. So we always want to make people understand that the results are not based on NJ, they are not based on any individual, but it's a team thing.
Yeah.
So when people then look at it from that perspective, they need to understand that collaboration, working with others in a professional way is very important. Yeah.
And what is your greatest desire for a lot of leaders to understand about a healthy company culture?
I think a lot of leaders want people to. It's the most important thing is to understand that the next person is different from you. So treat people the way they are, who they are. Don't try to make them who you are. And if you start there, then it should be easy for you to interact with the people. But the problem we have is that because I hold a lot of authority, I want people to be me. But people can never be me. People can only, pick the good things that are out of me, but they remain who they are. And just understanding that difference, I think, for me is very key in working together smoothly.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much for watching us. It's the Leadership Series with BIC. See you next time.